And I'm actually going to bring on our next panel. So the next panel is going to be moderated by Daniella Loftus, who you all heard from earlier. And we were going to have Regina Turbina, who is currently in Doha, Stephy Fung, who's in London, and Leanne, who's I think also in London. So Danny, first of all, I have to thank Danny for actually putting all of these things together, because she really helped us curate today and really bring it into a much more articulate version than I ever could. But the other thing that I wanted to tell you is which was a little thing that Danny and I talked about, is that she managed to get a Karl Lagerfeld icon. So I'm very upset that I wasn't able to, and you can tell my brother actually is telling me to not be too upset about that. But Danny got one, and so she's obviously on the forefront of all of this kind of stuff. And one of the things that they're going to talk about, when she introduced me to start looking at Leanne and to Steffi and Regina, the thing that she talked to me a lot about was identity. And with that, I am turning this panel over to them. Lovely to see you all. Goodbye. You can take it from here.
Thank you so much, Janice, and also just thank you so much for putting this day together. I think if the dematerialized and Karl Lagerfeld panelists are watching, I think the biggest blow to Janice was actually when she said to me, I don't know how to connect my crypto wallet, that's why I couldn't do it. And I said that the NFT was actually available in fiat, which I know is quite a big thing, Marjorie, that of kind of the platform that you were building and making it seamless like that. So I unfortunately broke the news to her that you can actually just connect your PayPal or your credit card. But launching into the next panel discussion of the evening. So I know that you have all seen me quite a lot today. To give a brief introduction to anybody who hasn't, my name is Daniella Loftus. I am the founder of a platform called This Outfit Does Not Exist, and it's a business which helps corporations, investors, and also just the general consumer bring digital fashion to life by understanding how to navigate the space, how to bring it into their business, and how to interact with meta fashion and virtual worlds more generally. And I know that we have had many, many different definitions of the metaverse over the past few hours. The one that Yat gave, I found particularly outstanding. I thought it was a brilliant masterclass into virtual fashion, the wider metaverse. So I would definitely advise everybody to watch that. But just to give a quick overview for anybody who hasn't been here all day, the metaverse has many definitions, but the way that I would define it is as a collective virtual shared space. And due to the fact that the definitions are so in flux, rather than saying it's anything other than this, I think you can define it by a set of characteristics. And the first one that I really see is the fact that it isn't storyline driven. So it's not you going in to complete a challenge or be part of a Tetris game. Rather, it's a space that you can go into to fulfill actually essentially all the needs and desires that you would in the physical world, but more from a cerebral lens. So you want to earn a living, you want to socialize with friends, you want to consume culture. It's a place where you can do that in a digitally native form. Secondly, it's the fact that it's not owned by a single company or service provider. And again, Yat's talk on data rights and moving forward with these digital economies was really absolutely phenomenal in explaining that. But, you know, Roblox doesn't own the metaverse, Facebook doesn't own the metaverse. No single corporation will. It's owned by everybody. And it's also a confluence of these various platforms or virtual worlds. So in the way that one website is not the internet, Roblox is not the metaverse, even though it may exhibit metaverse-esque characteristics. And then the third one, which I think is most pertinent to our panel today, is the fact that it's driven by something called UGC, which is user-generated content. So looking at the digital fashion space, there are going to be 3 billion gamers. And I have just said that games are not virtual worlds, but I think it gives an idea of the scale that we're already looking at by 2025. And just making the assumption that they're going to want one outfit to clothe their avatar alone. That's 3 billion items of clothing, which is absolutely colossal. No one corporation or set of corporations is going to be able to provide that. So first of all, it's literally out of the fact that it's essential for this to be a bottom-up space instead of a top-down space. The second is to do with something called Web3. And Web3 is essentially technology that allows multiple actors to come together and create an entity and actually be fairly rewarded for the creation of that entity. And so what's very exciting about the NFT space is that if you're the person who created it, you benefit from A, its sale, B, its resale, because you can program royalties in, and there's actually traceable ownership. So all of the issues that you have in the fashion industry around IP, around the fact that there's an unwillingness to share ideas or to collaborate because there's a potential for those ideas to be stolen. Your garments that have been created and are traceable, they are owned by you, and then they are owned by your consumer. And therefore, there is this immense potential for equity and very, very exciting models in the metaverse around that. And so this afternoon / this evening, maybe even this morning, depending where you are, I'm thrilled to be joined by 3 of the most formative voices and sets of hands responsible for crafting the clothing of the metaverse. So we have Leanne Elliott Young, who is the founder and CEO of the Institute of Digital Fashion. We have the digital designer, Stephy Fung. And then we have Regina Turbina, who is the founder of digital fashion marketplaces, Replicant and Artisans. So first of all, thank you all for joining me. And Leanne, I love your sunglasses.
Yeah, I'm quite tired today, so I thought I'm just going to go all out and just, you know, I could say this is a filter, but this is just hiding my eye bag from going in. We're very busy.
It's a really, really strong look. I absolutely love it.
And that, yeah.
And so I've given obviously a one-liner, but what I'd really love to start with, as each one of you are digital fashion pioneers in your own right, is just what inspired you to move into the digital fashion space? And I'd love for you to chat a little bit more about the work that you do within it. Leanne, with the sunglasses, I don't know if you'd like to start.
So hi, yeah, thanks for having me here. That was such a wonderful and eloquent introduction to the metaverse. I want to record it and play it continuously because, well, with this all recorded, but yeah, thank you for having me, and yeah, excited to be here. So what do Institute of Digital Fashion, IODF, we are using technology as a democratic tool for change. So what does that mean? There's lots of questions like that, like what do you actually do? So we create IRL and URL solutions for modern living. So that's digital fashion, avatars, and specifically we work within fashion, and we look at how we can build activations and workflow that that effectively builds a more sustainable, democratic, and inclusive space. But why do we work in this industry? I think some of the issues with traditional fashion, we'll call it physical fashion, is I suppose the key parts of our pillars, which are sustainability, inclusivity, and diversity. They're all black marks in the fashion industry. It's got a sordid, dirty past, and we really want and hope that digital fashion and this step into the metaverse, meaning we can rewrite some of those structures and really empower the makers, specifically by championing the craft and artisan, something which doesn't again happen in the traditional fashion industry. My business partner, Cathy Tay, was one of the pioneers in digital fashion, one of the first people to really bring into the fashion arena digital clothing, and created something which was really talking about the rechanging the language and the semantics of fashion by removing the human element. So a walk-in t-shirt that had the breasts and a belly and some hips, and it moved the way that the cloth moved without the human within it. It meant that you actually really paid attention to the fabric and to the quality of the fabric, but also it spoke about flesh and form, something which fashion doesn't much. So it's really interesting how digital fashion can disrupt our understanding on language around traditional fashion as well. So yeah, that's me, and that's what we do at IODF.
So cool. Just so cool. I would love to see that t-shirt.
Yeah,
the t-shirt is hypnotizing. I second that. It's very, very wonderful to look at.
Stephy's already seen the t-shirt. I'm incredulous. I'm going to put it up after the...
It's 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really, really early. Incredible. Well, that's going to be what I do this evening. Regina, I'd love for you to shed a little bit of light on what you do with Replicant and Artisans and how you first came into the digital fashion space.
Yes, thank you, Daniella. Hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm so happy to see you all. I'm founder of Replicant and Artisan. Replicant is a digital fashion marketplace where customers can buy and try on digital garments on the photos, and Artisan, it's a digital fashion NFT marketplace where where designers can mint their artworks and collectors can buy, sell, resell, and collect items on this platform. And it's so important for us to create community and to share ideas about digital fashion, because for me, for designer, I'm designer by my profession, and I love digital fashion because it's opportunity to share your ideas, to create digital items without physical resources. It's opportunity to create your first fashion item just with your computer. It's amazing idea, and I wanted to share these ideas with other designers and other people, and thank you for this opportunity.
Amazing, thank you so much, Regina. And finally, Steffi. Hi, Steffi.
Hello, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much. And hello, Leanne, Daniella, Regina, lovely to see you face to face. I'm Stephy Fung. I'm a 3D artist, actually. My background is in 3D motion graphics, which is, I find it crazy how now I'm fully into digital fashion, and I kind of I fell into digital fashion. I would never expected to be in this industry, but I am now. And how I actually got introduced to digital fashion is that I worked on a project with Catty Tay, and she has this wonderful community called DigiGirl. Now, DigiGirl is actually a community, an online community that represents like the LGBTQ plus and women-led 3D artists. So me being a 3D artist at the time, just doing motion graphics, I needed a place to join, just because I felt like I needed somewhere where I felt like I belonged, because the industry, or the tech industry in general, is very male heavy, male dominant. So that's where I found DigiGirl, and we were actually commissioned to create some digital fashion pieces for Selfridges, which is a luxury department store in London. And so at that time, I'd had no idea what digital fashion was. I was actually surprised because there was at least 2 digital fashion designers, and I was more so on the 3D side, building 3D environments, doing the texturing, doing the lighting. So it was quite interesting for me to be introduced to digital fashion that way. And we actually built, they commissioned us to build a collection, a digital collection based off a physical photograph. Physical pieces. And it was interesting because we built everything from scratch, and it was like nothing into something wonderful digitally. So that's the project that actually introduced me to digital fashion. And I think that was at least 2 years ago now. The time has flew by. And it wasn't until last year that I started to learn programs such as Clo 3D or Marvelous Designers, which are the programs you need to use in order to build the digital garments. I've been taking it more seriously, and I'm fallen in love with digital fashion, and that's pretty much what I do every day. So lovely to meet you all, and I'm glad to be here.
Incredible story, Steffi. So I'm going to start actually with Regina. And Regina, I would love to just ask you, you began as a digital designer yourself, and then you've had an amazing role in helping other digital designers, for example, Steffi, to create, showcase, and financially benefit from their work with Replicant and Artisan. So I'd really love to know how you see digital fashion opening doors for creators.
Yes, it's an interesting question. I think our main idea on the replicant fashion and artisan.io, at first it's community. I think we have to build community like all of us building right now. It's a community and platforms where designers can show their artworks, where they can meet with other designers, with brands, and yes, it's lots of showcases, and creators are the fundamental power that drives the digital fashion to the future, and so important to build the community. For example, when we opened Artisan platform, our NFT platform, we launched Artisan 2 months ago, and Steffi was part of our first drop. Yes, it was so beautiful drop. We created Artisan like digital fashion marketplace but we closed opportunity to create NFTs for all designers, and we just designers who have a special creator account can create their NFTs on the Artisan. But right now, I understand that we need to give more opportunities for all creators and for all designers to create their NFTs, because if we give more information about NFTs, about metaverse, about digital fashion, lots of people, we can build the community and we can grow with, I don't know, with this big opportunities for designers. And for designers, it's so important to, I don't know, to create beautiful clothes and to share their ideas where on the platform where they can do it.
I completely agree with you. And also, you know, something that I think is so empowering about the digital fashion space is with platforms like yours, you don't have to go through the set of traditional gatekeepers that you do as a physical fashion designer. So, you know, studies have shown that the fashion industry is what's known as a value destroyer. So there are 20 large brands. They have a colossal impact on the wider economic profit. To be a smaller brand trying to break in, first of all, really, really high cost of investment to even get yourself started. And then in order to get yourself in the right places where you have the exposure and you can actually start making returns on the investment you've put in is so hard. And what you're doing with your platforms, you know, Replicant, and I would say especially Artisan, because the clothes are created as NFTs, you're giving that agency and that power back to creators. And also then obviously incentivizing people to take that leap and to join the space, which is so important. And Steffi, as a creator on the platform, I just kind of love to know a little bit more about your experience as a digital fashion creator, and also how digital fashion, as opposed to motion graphics or even traditional fashion, has influenced your concepts of identity and concepts of agency, and whether that you see avenues to further that there aren't in other industries.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, guys, I'm deep into NFTs. I love NFTs only because as a creator, it's given me so much power. And that's something that I really actually value just as a creative, because, you know, beforehand, to make a living or to earn an income, very reliant on client work. So that means you're creating something for somebody else, which, you know, it's not bad, but as a creative, sometimes I felt like my soul was dying slightly. So just to take a bit of that creativity back, I'm able to create art that is like my work, my art, and also I'm able to earn some money off of it. So it's a really amazing space. I would definitely recommend anybody who hasn't jumped into it to research it and have a look. But for me, it's also a way for me to express myself. So you talked about identity, actually. And for me, I'm British Chinese. I was born in London. And I guess as a child, I didn't really appreciate my Chinese roots. So for me, as identity, I only as an adult, I really actually appreciate my Chinese roots now, because I figured that, you know, when I look at Chinese culture, I realized I don't actually know much about it, because I spent most of my time assimilating to British culture. So within my artworks, you guys will see actually, and also within my digital fashion, what I strive to do actually is to learn more about my Chinese culture, but also share it back to the community, because you actually don't see a lot of cultured works within the space anyways. So it's a great place to actually share your culture and also learn a bit yourself and also educate your audience as well. So for me, it's a win-win, really.
1000%. And I mean, the work that you've done with DressX, and also, I mean, the high sobriety work that I've been looking at, I've been seeing on your Instagram recently, it's so phenomenal, because it's, from my knowledge of you, it's such a kind of, it's a remix of your Chinese identity, but also it's quite street. It's got those digital fashion elements, and it's incredible because it's both really gorgeous design, but it's also a representation of you and your identity in a very honest way. So I've really loved the work that you've been doing.
Thank you so much. And yes, just what you said, I guess apart from my Chinese identity, I'm also really into streetwear. So, you know, I'm putting two passions together. I'm merging it together. So almost combining traditional Chinese cuts or patterns and combining it with modern cuts. And I feel like that's me. I feel like that is my identity, and I'm able to share that. So I think digital fashion has really helped me to express myself, and I'm really thankful for that.
Amazing. And moving on to Leanne. So Leanne, you know, you're one of the pioneers in the space. And one of the things that I've really admired for a very long time about Institute of Digital Fashion is actually just the work you've done shaping the space. So Steffi referenced, you know, digital with an X.
Yeah.
And that community. And, you know, what's really clear about the digital fashion community, and it's clear from the Web3 technology that a lot of the projects are based off of, which are obviously community driven and anti-corporate and anti-capitalist in certain ways, but also just the wider inclusivity of the space, is that it isn't the traditional fashion industry. It's a space that is meant to be inclusive, and it's a space that's meant to be diverse. And what I found so brilliant about the work that you've been doing is the fact that you're working with incredibly big fashion houses and brands, you know, the work you recently did with Richard Quinn, for example, and you're doing it on digital fashion's terms, and you're setting those terms for the wider industry, which is exactly what, as a pioneer, you should be doing, but obviously is also just naturally hard to do because it's going against everything that the traditional fashion industry stands for.
Yeah, you can also, you can feel that as well, like the fact that you know, digital fashion is something that you know, everyone's talking about, the metaverse, the fact that there are now so many creators, and it became like, it was such a small tight-knit community. Like, so I had Communiste and Katy Taylor's DigiGala on a panel talking about future of fashion, and we were like, digital, IRL, URL working in unison, never tech for tech's sake. We were like speaking from the same song sheet. And it was at a time when certain people would actually, Liam Hodges is an amazing designer, a very good friend. I'd walk into a room and he'd go, IRL, URL. Like, it was like this kind of hilarious term that they just thought was something that I'd made up. Like they were like, oh yeah, always going about IRL, URL working together. And it's like, well now we're very much in it. And when me and Katy first got together, it was because, like you were saying, Steffi, there's so few of us talking together, and it's so, now it's just wonderful to be in a space where we are kind of like rising, like phoenixes rising, and we've all now in the opportunity where we are being able to be safeguarded by NFTs. Your work can become a commodity. We're not. But then you have, you know, some of the institutions like the British Fashion Council, it's Digital Fashion Week when it's a video, you know, and they're pushing designers emerging means drowning, by the way, as we all know, like in the, you know, and it is, you know, you're trying to keep your head above water, you get pushed to create these seasonal presentations. It's exhausting, and there's so many solutions with digital. To step into digital, it doesn't mean you have to, and to be sustainable, it doesn't mean you have to lose or retrain. It means you can collaborate and you can do more. The fact that within a physical, you can layer digital into physical. You can have a digital fashion show like the Richard Quinn experience. You can walk into the brand universe, and you can really experience what beyond the physical restraints. I mean, there was a pink, sea that folded into magma. The sky was, this kind of again, an erotic pink. You can really blow the doors off what the physical world, and go deeper and harder into what you want to, what is your creative lifeblood. And so I think it's super exciting, but we've still got these roadblocks, and the traditional spaces in which you exhibit your work effectively as a fashion designer are still so slow. Like, it does feel that the fashion industry and those big fashion weeks are a bit like, the Titanic heading towards an iceberg. It's so big and it's like so slow to turn, they can't quite. So you've got all these amazing emergence of creative designers and new thinkers, which are really pushing the dialogue. But it is a slow incremental change, and we're all in there, we're swimming, we've done some laps, and we're doing the dolphin, we're fully in it, and they're still kind of asking you about what is this clo, how do we do this? So I think it's like it's a really exciting time, but it feels like frustrating at times, which is why all of us have had to jump and create our own dialogue and just rewrite the system effectively.
100%. And I thought of you yesterday because I was being interviewed by a French journalist who was going, well, in France we're really behind, but if you look at London Fashion Week, it's so ahead of the curve. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's just a fact. We're apparently miles ahead of France. They don't even know.
Love it. With a video presentation. Yeah.
So that really, really made me laugh. And kind of, this is a question to everyone, but Leanne, given what you were just talking about, we've just had a conversation about how, counter the digital fashion spaces, traditional fashion, and everything from the ownership of the rights of the garments to, the way you enter as a brand and all of that kind of stuff. And I know what's also interesting about everyone on this panel is, Regina, you've done a collaboration with Puma, I believe, Steffi, High Sobriety, Selfridges, and many others. And obviously, Leanne, you work with these big brands. So I think, to comfort anybody listening in the audience who comes from that type of a background, how do you see traditional fashion houses and fashion brands interacting with this space and with the creators within it?
I think that just quickly jump in and say that the two working together is really interesting. I think that there's quite there's like two camps at the moment, and I think that there's so much opportunity for digital to be embedded into physical, as I think that as soon as we have wearables, that's going to be again another seismic shift, because augmentation, AR with things like filters and Snap Lens means that with Spark AR and Snap Lens, so Snapchat and Instagram, are super exciting because they give the opportunity for the customer to step into that world, but also try on the garments, etc. And there's obviously loads of other platforms that are doing that. But I think for what is how do you comfortably navigate this space, and what are the opportunity? And I think the opportunity is just to be able to deliver more. It's not about delivering less and stepping into a whole new game and having to restructure all of your team. It's actually just speaking to some of the experts in that area for them to effectively work with you. And there's so much. It's more about there's so much opportunity of where to go.
Yeah, I could build on that actually. And, coming from a 3D artist perspective, the amazing thing about digital, and the reason why I've always been a digital artist, is the fact you can make the impossible work in digital. You can make textures glow, you can make textures animate, like you could have a text running across your jacket and it can say something meaningful, or you can have things defy gravity. So it's really a space where you can be more playful, and that's what Leanne said. And I think brands need to take that step, they need to take that baby step towards just, you know, having some fun and like trying different things. And I think, you know, even if it's not a fashion brand, actually, you know, I worked with Glenfiddich, and they're a whiskey brand, and they were the last people I would thought would be interested in digital fashion, but they took the leap, actually. And we actually created a digital fashion based off their whiskey packaging, which is, it's insane. Like, these two worlds colliding together, you wouldn't have expected that. And it's only going to become more popular, going to become more frequent. So I think brands should definitely look into it if they want to have a bit more fun.
Customization and bespoke as well. That's such a ripe opportunity.
Definitely. And Steffi, kind of when, you know, whiskey, fashion, you know, somebody sent it to me, an Irish friend of mine, and was like, finally, the two worlds colliding. And when they approached, you know, what was their logic around digital fashion in particular? Why did they see it as such an exciting opportunity?
So the interesting thing is that Glenfiddich invests back in the art community every year. Now, this I had no idea. I thought they just sold alcohol and that was it. But it was a lovely thing because they're giving back to the art community, which I love dearly. And this year, they worked with High Snobiety, and High Snobiety asked them, would you be interested in digital fashion and NFTs? So the combination of digital fashion and NFTs. And, you know, Glenfiddich thought about it and they thought, you know what? This is something we've never done before. And the prospects of it actually excites us. And I think we're going to give this 3D artist, this digital fashion designer, a chance. And it turned out to be a wonderful project. They had so much trust in me, which I'm honestly so thankful. And they actually didn't really have much of the creative direction. They actually gave most of it to me as the digital designer. So I'm just, to me, that project was absolutely wonderful. And I honestly applaud them for their bravery, because it's not easy to do something completely outside of the box that you haven't done before. So yeah, it was a wonderful project.
Amazing. And Regina, you know, with your work and your collaborations with Puma and others, how do you see normal traditional fashion brands interacting in the digital fashion space?
Yes, I think it's a long way, because right now digital fashion for big brands, it's more just instrument to create some marketing companies, and it's good instrument, but we need to more digital fashion education for big brands. And I'm absolutely agree with Steffi, because right now it's so early stage of digital fashion, and it's so new idea. Maybe we need some years and more education and more interesting collaborations with digital fashion. How Leanne says, maybe it will be AR fashion with Snapchat lenses, because it's opportunity to try on digital garments automatically, and a lot of people can try on your digital fashion garment with AR and AI digital fashion. And I think we can create more in this space if we will share ideas like right now today. And yes,
definitely.
I was going to say as well, just about education, the fact, that it's so important that like the reason why Steffi joined like DigiGao is because it is so new, and education is something that isn't happening at any of the schools right now. And I think that there's a brand positioning piece there. Like, we're launching our IRL and URL Learning Academy, which is open for disenfranchised groups and people in communities that may not be able to be a part of this conversation. Again, democratizing the space. And I think that the customers of the future are also the makers of the future. So that is a really interesting conversation around the fact that the schools right now and academia haven't got the tools or the knowledge to be able to teach on the fashion courses. So again, bizarrely, it's coming back to like groups and communities like ours who are having to create that. And a big part of what we do is philanthropic. So I just want to drop that in as well, just that it's hilarious that, well, not hilarious, but just that as a small company, you're delivering 3 projects a year, which are philanthropic because nobody else is doing it.
100%.
Yeah.
Completely. And even as one of my big things is the fact that everyone knows about NFT and is excited in some way about NFT art and the possibilities of it. And in my opinion, digital fashion is doubly as exciting. You can wear it. First of all, you can live in it. Secondly, I have a theory that because we haven't got to low code yet, you can't just easily make a digital fashion garment. It needs craft because it needs to be worn by somebody. So it's not like OpenSea where you could literally just mint a JPEG of your cat and be like, here you go, some NFT art for you. It actually is by people who hold a lot of talent, but yet it's not being invested in the sums that NFT art is. And I think that's also in part because art has always been a show of status as an investable asset. And I think that's largely to do with the way in which it's experienced. So you get a piece of art, you hang it on your wall, unless something goes massively wrong, it doesn't really get that ruined. Whereas fashion garments in the traditional world, you wear them and they have wear and tear, etc. And they become, unless they're, a grilled garment or owned by somebody famous, they become less valuable with wear. Whereas actually that isn't something we deal with at all in the digital space. It can be as pristine as the first day you bought it. And I think for any investors out there and also creators, this is where you should be putting money because these garments are way more exciting than just an artwork. But kind of in regards to the larger proliferation of the space, I think 100% it's, getting those tools to people who can benefit from it most. And it's also just, people realizing the potential of the space and starting funding it. So creators, like Steffi, like Regina, Leanne, like all of the people within your community can continue to profit from it and more creatives can come in.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually wanted to say or build upon what Daniella just said actually about creatives in this space. I don't think there's enough of us. I think we got space for more of you to learn for sure. So, for me, I'm a self-taught designer. I learned everything from online, mostly YouTube tutorials and a lot of them. But, if I could learn it, for example, and also free online, that means other people can do the same. So I'm really here as I really looking towards like the emerging creatives and pushing for them to start learning, because there's just so many free resources online to learn like Code 3D or 3D in general. And there is actually currently a skill gap in building between 3D knowledge and fashion knowledge and digital fashion knowledge. So I'm hoping within maybe next few years, we're going to get way more talented digital fashion designers, and of course from all different backgrounds, because if the internet is accessible to everyone.
And kind of around that, I was just going to say around that, well, first of all, when I started one of my newsletters publishing resources for emerging digital designers, I was literally like, here are 4 tutorials that I had Steffi talk about, and also watch her Twitch streams, and that's pretty much as good as it gets. And I believe Leanne may be doing something exciting in that space pretty soon. Leanne, if you want to give a little sneak peek.
Yeah, we were just chatting on the just about the idea of the what we were saying about the fact that digital fashion, there's the opportunity that a digital garment, number one, has like more legs. It can go further. You produce one and it has the wearability of, it can be viral. One, but then there's a really interesting conversation on the beauty of a physical garment is that the fact that when you do wear it, it doesn't just wear and tear, but it gathers the physicality of yourself. So I have particularly double jointed elbows, and so I know my jumpers, because it goes both ways. So, but there's a certain, the t-shirt that you've worn for over 10 years, how that feels, how the cloth becomes almost like it becomes like it's a relationship with you, with your body and your shape. And it has emotional signifiers of the times that you wore it, etc. So there's something about what inhabits the physical garment, and how do we bring that into digital? So what we're currently working on is a project in which a digital garment does hold on to those moments, and as the garment is worn, it collects the comments, the likes, and the moments in which it was worn, and it has a wear and tear, and it has a certain point in which it expires. And the other opportunity with that as well is also being able to re-collaborate. So almost a subscription model where you can have the latest garment, which is then re-uploaded to the one that you already had. So colorways, as Steffi was saying, the conversations you might be wanting to have at that moment, i.e. as a brand, the different messages or the different the statements of that season can then be embedded into that digital garment, but it's constantly uploaded seasonal. So there's I think that borrowing from the physical world, not ignoring it, is something which the digital which we're all starting to do in digital.
So cool. That's so cool. You know, one of the things that I think also Steffi, Regina, and Institute of Digital Fashion as well, you guys all do exceptionally well, is just really putting your finger on and working with the reasons that digital fashion is special. You know, we have at our fingertips the most amazing technologies to make these garments as special, if not more special, to be democratic, as, you know, what we wear physically. And, you know, tapping into all of this is just so cool. So yeah, massive kudos on that. I know we only have 10 minutes left, so I quickly wanted to touch on the things that you all see as still holding creators back in this space, despite, you know, the incredible strides that are being made. What are the biggest barriers for creators at the moment?
I suppose for creators, as in to learn digital fashion, maybe having a computer, you know, actually having to run 3D programs, you know, you got to have a good desktop PC. And that's what I really recommend for those who are interested in 3D and digital fashion. A laptop is okay, but to run these programs, you're going to need the power. So I guess it would be like technical abilities and like the programs or the digital things that you have, like the computer. So that would be the only barrier I could really think about in terms of actually getting to learn it. But aside from that, everything's pretty much accessible, where everything, once you get to access to a computer, you're actually able to start learning straight away.
And then kind of Steffi, was your transition from learning digital fashion to actually selling it, was that a seamless one? You know, obviously Regina is creating these platforms to get digital fashion designers seen and also sold, but was that a seamless move for you?
It was the right timing. And that's all due to NFTs, actually. And of course, Regina's wonderful platform. Got to give a shout out there. I think everyone just really headed towards like selling stuff online in the NFT space. And that helped to elevate this digital movement, especially in digital fashion. So I just happened to be there at the right time. And I still think it's the right time because there's still not enough of us. So if anyone is interested in, of course, making digital fashion and selling it, and, you know, as an NFT, it's definitely space for that. And it's going to continue. NFT is never going to stop. And I think, you know, especially if you're looking to do digital fashion, of course, what Regina's platform does really wonderfully is having the AR aspects and having the digital wearables. Like that is the that is the next step, I would say, having the utility and having people to wear your digital fashion instantly. So yeah, I think for me, it was only seamless because everybody else's mindset was also the same. So yes.
Yeah, amazing.
I totally agree with Steffi. We need more education in this area, more education about digital fashion, because it's to earn. And a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I don't remember, I I understood that I need to have more education information on our website, on artisan.io, and we are working on special page for designers right now, where we can share lots of information how to create how to create your first digital fashion garment, how to sell your NFTs, how to go into a community, how to create collaborations with other digital fashion or NFT designers and artists. It's so important, and we want to share some blank clauses for designers, and it was inspired by Fabricant. They share their blank clauses with other designers, and other designers they can upload these clauses and create their I don't know, colors. They can create their own clauses with blank clauses. It's so important because I wanted to save time for other designers, and I wanted to give more opportunities when you know nothing. You can have just something, and it's so important.
I was going to say as well, like we've found that it is 100% the navigating the web to try and find out all the different resources, which is why we're correlating it all and pulling everything together so we can really make sure that the resources are quick to find, and also working with the software companies themselves. My dog's about to bark. Sorry, fox. That means there's a fox outside somewhere. Sorry. So yeah, pulling together all the resources and working with the software companies, I think that's super important. You know, a lot of the time we have built relationships with Clo 3D and Daz 3D because we found that they're really open to listening. There's lots of like roadblocks that you come to as a maker, and so you end up starting a forum and chatting about it. So we were like, right, let's shortcut this, let's speak, let's take all of this information, but also open a discourse with the software companies so that they can actually start listening to some of the roadblocks and making the softwares more more user friendly, or like more textures needed, etc. And I think that's been a really, like, for us, that seems to be like a really important curve, is that how do we show people to, you know, give them the information quickly, but also be there as a support. So for, you know, whilst you're learning, going through the pain points. But I do think that there needs to be more people jumping into the space, because as Steffi said, there's still not enough of us, and the more there are, the more exciting it is, and the more, I think, the more you can push the softwares in turn for the space to grow. Also as well, I think that one of the key things is we really don't want to rewrite some of you know, fashion's past, which is free internships. Scalability is what brands talk about a lot. We should be talking about craft and artisan, and the level of and dedication it's taken. You know, just us on this panel, like how much time is put into learning the softwares and really showing excellence. And I think there's one thing which is scalability, but it should be about it should be in the same way that fashions have creative directors, fashion houses have creative directors. So you'll have a digital director, which is somebody who's worked and understand the eloquence of textures and polygons and all of those dark moments at 4 a.m. that it's taken us all to get to these positions. So one thing is scalability, but pay should never, we should never be mimicking fast fashion, which I think is some of the you know, issues with stepping into digital fashion, is some want fast scalability, and we're still, there's no magical push button. There's still humans behind and working long hours to get to that level of realism.
I have been absolutely, you know, I've spoken to you all separately. I've spoken to you all in the panel. You know, you all have amazed me, and mostly, can I just say, is because what you all do is sheer grit. As you said, you know, those 3 a.m. kind of deep kind of dives down the rabbit hole where you're working through it. And you know, and I think this is the thing that everybody needs to know, is that this takes a lot of experience. And I think it comes back also to what Yat was saying, you know, there's a lot of connections that are in here. And what we're actually doing is you know, getting hold of all of our rights and our data at this point in time. On so many notes, Leanne, you actually have wrapped up your panel really beautifully, because I am basically thanking you all very much for this super girl power panel. And I'm actually bringing on Ty and Cameron, who actually you had talked about, you know, Daz 3D and the work that you're doing with them, and also, you know, one of the great, you know, creative directors of the digital space. So with that, I want to just thank you all, and please will you stay and put all your points into the chat itself, and let everybody know what they should be looking for about your own drops. And at this point, I also come to say to thank Daniella for really kind of connecting everybody and doing the most fabulous moderator job for today. So thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Amazing panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ciao.